Do you want to create more abundance in the coming year? This is Robert Manni, host of Guys TV, and this week my very special guest is author Susan Shumsky. We're going to talk about her new book, and also we're going to chat with Leonard Perlmutter about National Conscience Month. It all starts right here, right now on Guys TV. You can also catch me on KCAA Radio in Southern California and Guys Radio, my worldwide podcast. Guys TV, Guys Radio. Thanks for your support and have a happy new year. Okay, we've got a return guest to Guys Radio, one of my favorite folks. His name is Leonard Perlmutter. He founded the American Meditation Institute, and he's author of the book we discussed a few weeks ago, Your Conscience, the Key to Unlock Limitless Wisdom and Creativity and Solve All of Life's Challenges. He's got an amazing background. He created this American Meditation Institute, and he's developed what's called the National Conscience Month, which is every January. And I think this is the third or fourth year he's doing it. So I want to have him back on the show and we'll talk about that. So welcome back to Guys Radio, Leonard Perlmutter.
Thank you, Robert. It's wonderful to be back.
So let's talk a little bit about National Conscience Month. And what is it? Why is it important? Why did you start doing it?
You know, it was an idea that it was in the back of my mind for about 15 years. And finally, at the end of 2019, I decided to jump into the pool and just establish National Conscience Month. It's so interesting that the conscience is so important because it's the only function of the mind that makes decisions for us. And yet, we've never really been taught about it in school as a real skill, which is needed drastically today in the face of all the contention that's going on with all sorts of different groups, one against the other. And so it's an opportunity on all levels, color war aside. It doesn't matter whether you're red or you're blue or whatever. It's beyond politics. It's really all about common sense and making the best choices we can possibly make so that everyone can experience a happy, healthy, joyful life.
So during National Conscience Month, what happens? Are there events? Is it an awareness to be more mindful of your decisions you make throughout the day? Well, how does it work? What's your goal?
The goal is to start a national conversation. We're going to be having on January 6th a webinar talking about experiments, how to experiment. Now, I know it's very popular and familiar to everybody that once that calendar turns from December to January, people start thinking about making New Year's resolutions. Okay, well, what I'm suggesting is through National Conscience Month, you don't have to make a resolution that maybe you'll keep and maybe you won't. But instead of a resolution, I'm suggesting an experiment. So an experiment is not forever. It's just an experiment to see if it benefits me physically, mentally, emotionally. So it's shorter termed, but guaranteed to bring happiness and contentment to us and pleasure on some level because the action that we take has the endorsement of the conscience.
Now, it seems like in our day-to-day lives, Leonard, most people live, and it's not pointing the finger at them. This is just how we're kind of programmed, is very reactive. Something comes up and we react. Something comes up and we react. Now we're at the point where it feels to me like we're actually being told, this is what the information is. We're not being asked to think critically even anymore. So how does the average person who's getting bombarded with this, you're supposed to think this way and this is the way it is and that's it, and it's not about discussion of both sides, it's about just that's it. And maybe the other side says the same thing, but we're really being told it's this or it's that, kind of pick your choice. Throughout the day, we're faced with making a plethora of decisions. How can regular everyday people invoke their conscience to make these correct decisions and to kind of step away from being told what to do, what to think, and how to act?
Well, you bring up an excellent point right away, and that is that people try the best that they can. I definitely believe that. In every situation, I think that everybody tries the best that they can. I believe the real problem that we have in our culture and in our civilization is a lack of proper education. I went to school just like everybody went to certain a number of grades, but the only thing that we were ever asked to do is to memorize something. So we would memorize as best we could, and then we were tested on it, and then we got a grade. And if we got good grades to a certain extent over multiple tests, maybe we got a degree. But nobody has taught us to think critically. And yet, our thoughts are our most valuable resource because thoughts lead to action, whether it's verbal or physical. And all actions we know lead to consequences. So everybody wants the same consequence on some level, no matter how you define it. Everybody wants to experience happiness. Everybody wants to experience security. Everybody wants to experience good health. So the question is, how are we going to get to point B from point A when we don't have a business plan? Nobody has taught us in any school, college, or university how to make a business plan for using our mind, our most powerful instrument. And that's when habit kicks in and the reptilian brain and fear. And so people act out of those very basic emotions.
So when we're making a decision, I mean, last time we talked about should I have that second piece of chocolate pie or something? Let's do another one. Let's make it a decision. Should I rent this apartment or not? Obviously, you go through the blocking and tackling of it, like what's the rent? Can I afford it?
Mhm.
What's the view look like? What's the amenities? All of that kind of stuff. But when it gets down to it, we want to tap into our conscience. How do we approach it from a critical thinking point of view, besides just the linear left brain aspects of it?
Well, we have to coordinate the different functions of the mind. So, as I mentioned, only the conscience can make the decision, but we have advisors. We have these lobbyists, namely the ego, the senses, and the unconscious mind. They have limited perspectives. They're often wrong, but they're never in doubt. They're loud, they're pushy, they're insistent. They create a tremendous amount of noise. So, when they create a tremendous amount of noise, lobbying for their limited perspective to be adopted because they're looking for pleasure and they want to eliminate pain, what happens is the conscience is limited in its capacity to make a decision. And what occurs is that the conscience will simply rubber stamp the loudest voice it can hear. So in school, we've not learned techniques to quiet the ego, quiet the senses, and quiet the unconscious mind. So then the conscience can reflect superconscious wisdom from the superconscious portion of the mind to provide us the perfect thought to think, word to speak, and action to take that will allow each of us in our own way to fulfill the purpose of our lives without pain.
Okay. So how did you have a very storied background, and you're called Ram Lev. You spent a lot of time in India. You are a leader of the conscious movement. You've written this wonderful book, The Key to Unlock Limitless Wisdom and Creativity and Solve All of Life's Challenges. What was your personal journey? How did you get to become deemed Ram Lev? What inspired you to go to India and just follow the path of the life that you've chosen, Leonard?
Well, I decided to ultimately go to India really uh, as a way of thanking my teacher for all the gifts and teachings that he gave me through his books, and to wish him a bon voyage because I knew that he was very sick and he was close to dying. That was the only reason that I went to India. Otherwise, I would never have found it necessary to go outside my upstate New York home, because I believe that everything that we really need comes to us in the relationships that we develop. But I went to say goodbye and share my appreciation for the tools that he has provided me in making life's choices.
And who was that, and how long did you stay?
That was Swami Rama, and he had a summer home in Pennsylvania, and I did visit him often during the time that I knew him. And we went for a month. That's all, just for a month to go to India. And we studied with him. We offered our appreciation. And then we came back.
And how long? What was your impetus to get involved in kind of the spiritual side, the spiritual journey in life, the spiritual unfoldment? I mean, you grew up in some area of New York, and then you obviously were inspired to follow the path you followed and excelled at. What was the tipping point there? What happened, if anything?
You know, I've always been philosophically directed and spiritually directed since I was a young child. Uh, I don't know if I mentioned this before to you, but I was about 5 years old, maybe four. We were summering in upstate New York at a very lovely lake, Lake Luzerne, uh, north of Albany, and we were with my grandfather. Was staying. The whole family was an extended family, and there were only two people that were up before the crack of dawn, and that was me and my grandfather. Everybody else slept late, but I was always an early riser. And I would always, as soon as I woke up, I would run down to his room. And invariably, he was praying in his room. And one day, when I opened the door and I saw him praying, my eye spotted on his nightstand a glass with water in it, and in the water were his false teeth. So I looked at the glass of false teeth, and I looked at my grandfather praying back and forth, and I said to him, Papa, that's what I called him, Papa, I said, why didn't you put your teeth in first before you started praying? And he looked at me, and he used to call me Lenny. He said, Lenny, first you pray, then you put your teeth in. So I knew that he was right. I knew that this was very important knowledge. And it wasn't just about the false teeth. It wasn't just about my grandfather. It was about priorities in life and making the right choice. And from that experience, I experienced a scent. I like to call it a scent, sort of like a bloodhound. And in different situations going forward in my life, I would smell that familiar scent of spiritual truth. And that really motivated me.
That's
And it
amazing.
just kept on working like that.
Now, you're obviously an expert and excel at meditation, and so many people out there are waking up and beginning to meditate or meditating more deeply. For myself, I meditated sporadically over the years, and then I had some health issues, and I decided I'm going to meditate every day. I started getting up at 6 a.m., meditate. First it was 15 minutes, now it's about 40 minutes. And sometimes I wake up, I'm woken up, it feels like, at like 4 a.m. And it's like, get up and meditate. And I'm like, I don't want to go back to sleep. No, get up. As this voice in my head, this knowing, like, get up and now. And I figured, well, maybe I'm going to get some type of download or whatever. So I get up and meditate. It's always wonderful. And I found that my life has become so much better over the past year due to meditation. Can you elaborate on what I've said? Because I think it's so important for people, particularly guys, because I'm a boomer guy and you're a boomer guy. And so many guys, they get stuck. And I've told my friends, I said, have you meditated? You try meditation? because it really makes a world of difference and it helps get us unstuck.
Invariably, when I have a class, I'll ask, how many, can we have a show of hands? How many of you meditate every day? And a certain number of people raise their hand. And I remind them that that's not really true, because everybody meditates every day. Anytime that we are engaged in anything that we love, it could be an ice cream cone, it could be a wonderful book, it could be a fantastic movie, it could be the act of sex. Anything that we say, oh, I love that, what happens? What happens to the energy of the mind? Automatically, in that experience, the energy of the mind is focused automatically. And we feel wonderful, don't we? We even say, oh, I love that book. I love that person. I love that movie. But it's not the object. It's the fact that the energy of the mind has become focused. So, what meditation helps us to do is learn how to focus the mind at will at one object, so that we don't need that book to make us feel happy and full. We don't need the movie. We don't need that sex. We don't need that second slice of apple pie. We are already fullness and bliss and wisdom, having a human experience. So meditation helps us to train the mind at will. Any place, any time, any circumstance, we can experience that same wonderful feeling.
Yeah, it seems like, for me at least, I'm kind of now witnessing things more. I don't get triggered as quickly because I think what's happening, based on what you just said, is I'm into like muscle memory in terms of how to witness and experience life. So I don't get myself as wound up as much as I used to on things, or overreact to things, because I've figured, I look at them, I use your four-pronged effort, the body, the unconscious, the conscious, and the ego. And I think it's kind of working on its own, kind of like an engine underneath the hood. So I
Well,
don't
that's
have
what
to.
happens
Okay.
because we create global skills. Human beings are great at creating habits. We do that quite naturally. And that's exactly what you're saying. You've
Okay.
created a global skill. So it does become a new way of being in the world.
Um, an important question, we talked about it briefly before going on air, that I want to ask is that it seems to me that there is some type of an attack or a war on human conscience right now, where we're being pitted against each other, whether it's the election and now it's the pandemic, and critical thinking is not allowed. In either case, you're either this or you're that. And I think, the white hats and the black hats, if you will, both want us fighting for different agendas. I'll leave it at that and put it on your plate. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think that I believe that we have to acknowledge the fact that human beings like to argue. Human beings like to fight. So let's take a look at human beings for a moment. Human beings are essentially animals, aren't we? We're essentially animals. But because we have learned that if we rely exclusively on animal instinct, we are going to suffer. We are going to experience more pain. And so intuitively, we know that we have access through the conscience to a greater wisdom that can help grow us from the animal through the human into divine beings, which is our essential nature. And this story plays out from time to time in history. It's part and parcel of the human story, but it's built in. And so the question is, what do you want to experience? Because it's up to each of us. We are our deepest driving desires. As our deepest driving desire is, so is our will. As our will is, so becomes our deed. as our deed comes about, that creates our destiny. So what is our destiny? What destiny do we want? Do we really want to be happy? Do we really want to be healthy? Are we really truthful with ourselves that we want to be secure? If that be the case, then the smartest thing that anybody, regardless of what color your side you're on, if you're on red or you're on blue or whatever color, it doesn't matter. You can become colorblind because the key is your conscience, which will provide you the best wisdom that will bring you the happiness, the health, and the security that you desire.
Fantastic. Okay. Ram Lev, my friend Leonard Perlmutter, where can people find out more and participate in National Conscious Month and your work, and also your I think you have a weekly meditation group. I want to experience that myself. Tell everybody where we can all learn more and participate.
Well, National Conscience Month has its own website. It's consciencemonth.org, consciencemonth.org. And as I mentioned previously, I teach at the American Meditation Institute, and our website is americanmeditation.org, americanmeditation.org. And on the homepage, you can get a free link to a Sunday meditation every Sunday from 9:30 to 11 Eastern Time. And even if you can't be there, if you just get the link and you register, you can get a free recording of the guided meditation and the philosophical conversation that followed, just this similar, very similar to the conversation that you and I have had today, Robert.
Fantastic. Well, you're always welcome on Guys Radio. Thank you for all the wonderful work you're doing, and I hope to see you again, and happy holidays to you, Ram Lev.
Thank you very much.
If you enjoy the guests and content I bring you each and every week on Guys Radio and TV, please support us by subscribing to our channels. Thanks.